I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, a storm whips through southern Ontario, killing at least 2 people.
Parts of a large tree had fallen on a woman in her 70s who were walking through this catwalk behind me.
We'll have a live update from Brampton, plus a look at the damage and destruction left behind.
We're burning out our medical staff here. We need some help with that.
With less than 2 weeks until we cast ballots in the provincial election, a look at some of the top issues for voters in Northern Ontario.
Country to here with lots of dreams, with lots of hope.
Hundreds of students left in limbo after a private college suspends the spring semester without warning.
This is CBC Saturday News.
It has been a deadly day across southern Ontario after a storm ripped through, bringing high winds, intense rain, and hail, killing at least 2 people, knocking out power, and leaving behind a path of downed hydro poles and trees. We begin in Brampton tonight. Our Dahlia Ashry is standing by live for us, close to where a woman has died there. What are you able to tell us at this point, Dahlia?
That's right, Shannon. It was an unfortunate event. As you can see, there's still debris behind me, down trees, down power lines, and there's some police still present. Now, this isn't actually where the woman died, but what we know so far is that Peel Region Police told us that the woman was in her 70s, happened around 1:30 p.m. We don't know much information yet as to whether she lives she's from the area or not, but I did speak to a neighbor who lives nearby. He's distraught when I spoke to him, shocked, as he's the one who made the 911 call and he's the one who found her body. Here's what he had to say.
And I was like, what is this? I just moved a bit, leaned on that railing fence, and then I saw there was a lady. I called 911 right away. I just could not believe that I saw someone there in this situation. I don't know for how long she have been there in that situation. It was very scary. It was not a good sight to watch, especially when an old lady, senior, you see in that situation, and then you cannot help them. It was very sad. And then
Now, Peel Regional Police also told us that when EMS attended the scene, the woman was still alive. She later died at hospital. This isn't the only death that we've heard of today. There was another one at Pinehurst Lake Conservation Area, which is between Kitchener and Brantford. OPP West Region tweeted that there were 2 people that were injured and 1 person who died at a campsite.
Dahlia, we know the storm came and left so quickly, but it seems like there was a lot of damage in many other areas. Can you take us through some of that?
I mean, this scene behind me right here, it's not something uncommon. I mean, it was seen all across Ontario today, from whether it would be Ottawa or Scarborough or Mississauga. I mean, there was down trees, down power lines, and Hydro One even tweeting out, asking people to stay about 10 meters away from any downed poles. The winds were gusting at about 100 kilometers an hour. I mean, if you look at the harbor camera, it looks like a scene out of Doomsday, really. Police Marine Unit says they pulled a number of people from the water, but no one was taken to hospital. We had many viewers who sent us pictures and videos of downed trees on houses and cars and fences. What we also know right now is that Peel Regional Police, all they can tell us is that the woman who died here in Brampton was in her 70s. We don't know much about her except for that information, and we'll continue to have information as it becomes available. Shannon?
Thanks, Dahlia. She's reporting for us live tonight in Brampton.
Thanks.
And here's a live look at Ottawa right now. The storm has already passed through the city. Let's bring in Sophia Kambalia now from the Weather Network. Sophia, yeah, when we got the alerts on our phones, right, just blaring, talking about this severe thunderstorm warning. Yes, we were all like, what's this? And then, boom, it just hit.
Yeah, it goes to show you the rarity and the extra power that these deadly storms have. I gotta show you this picture taken by one of our meteorologists in Etobicoke to hit home the fact that you don't need to have a tornado or a hurricane to have tornado-esque damage. Straight line winds like we saw in that bowing out squall line right across southern Ontario can pack an incredible punch. A bit of a summary for you. shows that we actually had recorded wind gusts of upwards of 130 kilometers an hour. That is a low-end hurricane or tornado force wind gust. There's a look at the archived radar as this squall line passed through the area. Here's the why. Everybody's wondering kind of what happened here. We had a lot of upper level winds that actually mixed down to the surface. It was a perfect storm of ingredients along with rising heat and instability. You know how humid it was earlier, feeling like 36 early in the day, and then all you need is a little bit of a trigger. We had that in the form of a shortwave trough. We will also continue to see that cold front come in again into the evening hours. I'll tell you more about that and the extra risk of severe storms still in Niagara region coming up in a few minutes. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. We'll see you shortly. Well, now to the campaign trail. We are less than 2 weeks away from casting ballots in the provincial election. Conservative leader Doug Ford was in London today talking housing and boosting supply.
We need to do more. That's why a re-elected PC government will build 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years.
Ford says a re-elected PC government would update its housing supply action plan every year to implement strategies to build homes faster. Also on the trail today.
Where's Doug Ford been on this issue? He's been absolutely silent, absolutely missing in action, absolutely gone into hiding on an issue that is spiraling out of control on his watch. He is someone who has consistently said that he will not engage in trying to ban handguns.
Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca campaigning outside a movie theater in Etobicoke, where Maple Leafs star Mitch Marner was the victim of a carjacking. He was jumped at gunpoint earlier this week, thieves stealing his Range Rover. Del Duca says if elected, he would move quickly to create an auto theft task force. Earlier this week, Toronto police reporting violent carjackings are way up in the city.
The good news is we can get people care faster and at the same time help nurses recover from burnout by putting enough nurses on each and every shift. And in Scarborough, that means our plan will fill the whopping 186 nurse vacancies that you have now.
Andrea Horvath campaigning virtually after testing positive for COVID on Thursday. The leader in good spirits and talking health care, as you heard there. She says if elected, the NDP would pump resources into health care in Scarborough, a region she says that's long been ignored and understaffed.
We are in a climate emergency, but you wouldn't know it listening to the other parties in this election campaign. Climate-fueled extreme weather like flooding, droughts, heat waves, and storms are already creating significant challenges for family farms across the province and increasing the cost of living for everyone in Ontario.
Leader of the Greens, Mike Schreiner, also campaigning online after he too tested positive for COVID earlier this week. He was joined by local sustainable farming expert Ralph Martin. If elected, the Greens pledging better protection for farmland and support for local food and farmers.
So with the election getting closer, Megan Fitzpatrick traveled to Northern Ontario talking with voters there about their biggest concerns.
We are in the riding of Algoma-Manitoulin. It is a seat that's currently held by the NDP's Michael Mantha. I've seen a lot of signs around town for him. He's represented the riding since 2011. There are 5 other candidates on the ballot, though, for residents here to choose from. And the candidates have told CBC News their priorities for residents here include road safety, road maintenance, as well as access to health care. And often those two issues are tied together. There is a hospital here in Wawa, but if people need more specialized health care, they often have to travel to Sault Ste. Marie, and that can be difficult if the roads are closed down, or especially during the winter when the roads aren't cleared. So these are the kinds of concerns that have been brought up to me as I've been talking to voters, plus a range of other issues. Take a listen to what some of them are telling me.
Are they interested enough to seriously take on as much as they can of the global climate warming problem? And we see it everywhere. I see it up here even, but and I've seen it when I've been in the Arctic.
One is the bus service out of the north and rail service, and we're waiting. And I think it's time that the people realize that your natural resources are coming from Northern Ontario. And like we seem to be always waiting. Apparently they're going to build a multi-million-dollar highway in downtown Toronto. Well, anyway, that's not going to do us very much good here.
We're burning out our medical staff here. We need some help with that.
I've talked to other voters here today saying that the cost of internet is an issue for them in these smaller rural communities. If they do have access to internet, it is very expensive. And I've talked to a few other voters who said they don't feel like their votes matter very much, and they feel like, you know, with every election, nothing changes, that politicians make promises and they don't follow through. That last woman in the clip there, Lori, I asked her if she had a message for the politicians down in Toronto at Queen's Park. It would be, come visit us, come see for yourself what life is like here in towns like Wawa.
That's Megan Fitzpatrick reporting for us. We do have some developing health news we want to tell you about now. Toronto Public Health says it is investigating the first suspected case of monkeypox. Officials have just released a statement saying a man in their 40s had recent contact with an individual who traveled to Montreal. Lorenda Redekop has our story.
St. Michael's Hospital in downtown Toronto says it has one suspected case of monkeypox, someone treated as an outpatient on May 19th. So far, all confirmed Canadian cases are in Quebec. After exposure, it can take a couple weeks to develop symptoms.
People might develop a headache. They might develop a fever. They might have some swollen lymph nodes. And then a day or two later, you might start to see this typical rash.
He wants Canada to follow the UK's lead and vaccinate those most at risk.
You just have to vaccinate close contacts of cases. So, like, this is not, you know, a mass vaccine program. This is a ring vaccine program. And again, the amount of vaccine that consumes is very, very small.
The vaccine that works is for smallpox, up to 85% effective for monkeypox, according to the WHO. Smallpox was eradicated decades ago in Canada, but that means people under 50 haven't had that shot. Canada's Public Health Agency does not disclose how much smallpox vaccine it has due to security concerns, likely since smallpox can be used as a biological weapon. It's also advised all provinces and territories to be on the lookout for potential cases.
I think the average person shouldn't be worried about this at all. I mean, this is not something that you're going to catch from somebody at the grocery store. You have to be in close, sustained contact with somebody who is very likely symptomatic and has these painful lesions.
And while many are now hyper alert about viruses, a reminder that this is not the same as COVID-19.
Monkeypox is a virus for which we have medical countermeasures, for which we've dealt with outbreaks in the past. It's not a novel pathogen, and it doesn't spread efficiently like SARS-CoV-2.
But one connection to COVID-19, Unity Health, which runs St. Michael's Hospital, says COVID protocols have helped further reduce the risk. But with a couple dozen suspected cases under investigation across the country, the numbers are expected to rise. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
And in its statement this evening, Toronto Public Health says, well, the risk to the general public from the infection is very low. People may have been exposed to monkeypox in the following settings in Toronto. An event at the Access Club hosted by Prism, that's on College Street, on May 14th, and Woody's Bar located on Church Street on May 13th and 14th. In other news tonight, hundreds of international students say they're left in limbo after their private college suspended the spring semester without warning. Dale Manukduk went looking for answers.
I will not be defeated. I will not be destroyed.
Many of these students have been protesting night and day in front of Alpha College.
We have to. We don't have a choice. If we go home, they just keep thinking that we're soft.
On Tuesday, roughly 400 received an email from the school saying it would be unable to proceed with enrollment for the spring 2022 semester.
At one side, they are sending me the mail that you are suspended. At one side, my teachers are saying that you have to join your classes. Like I was totally stuck between both the things, that I was suspended or I have to attend the classes. So in between, they just blocked my portal.
In a statement provided by St. Lawrence College, Alpha President Vivian Liu says Alpha has been in communication with affected students for several months and will continue to communicate and support students with their enrollment status. But Carr's email dated May 17th was the first she'd been made aware. It says she only has one day to decide if she wants to withdraw. The events of the week have taken a toll on the students' mental health.
we come from our country to here with lots of dreams, with lots of hope. Like we think that college is our family. If college don't think about us, then whole thing.
Those protesting here in Scarborough are also thinking of their fellow students still in India.
The college gave them an offer letter, and they took their fees. They paid around $16,000 for 2 semesters. And after that, they tell them that they cannot come to Canada because they are not providing them a letter of enrollment.
In a reversal, the college has sent out new spring semester timetables to students, but some have not received a new letter of enrollment. The students want the college to ensure in writing that they'll be able to graduate on schedule, as the trust between the two sides is broken. Dale Manukduk, CBC News.
Welcome back. We're heading south of the border now, where there's been more extreme weather. 2 people were killed after a tornado hit a small community in the U.S. As Jamie Strachan shows us, there's also been intense heat in parts of Europe and South Asia, too.
It was around lunchtime today when the skies got dark and powerful rain, wind, and hail blasted parts of southwestern Ontario. Yesterday, just south of the border in Michigan, far worse. A rare violent tornado, not usually seen this far north, ripped through the small town of Gaylord, about 370 kilometers northeast of Detroit, flipping vehicles, tearing roofs off buildings, and downing power lines. 2 people were killed, at least 40 more injured.
Can you hear that thing out my window? Jesus.
This is an extreme weather event. There was not a lot of notice. Some people were able to take cover, but some were in harm's way and may yet still be in harm's way, considering the structural damage that we're seeing.
In other parts of the United States, many cities dealt with blistering midsummer-like heat, while Colorado saw a rare May snowstorm.
Is nature upside down? Is something amok? And people really want an explanation.
Experts say climate change is exacerbating things, but it's not that simple.
We know the weather's all juiced up because, hey, when you warm up the world, hey, you create more volatile and turbulent kind of weather. So I think what we're seeing is a symptom of climate change, but it isn't just something we haven't seen before.
All around the world, we're seeing pockets of extreme, unseasonable weather. In Spain and many other parts of Europe, crippling heat.
No.
In Madrid, this worker said May used to be cool, but now it seems to go right to summer. The world's hottest spots right now, parts of India and Pakistan, where record temperatures have scorched crops and pushed electricity grids to the limit. So, what does this all mean for the coming summer months in Canada? Experts like Phillips say it can be hard to predict, but based on what we've seen this spring, be ready for anything. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
We head to Ukraine next, where Russia is intensifying its offensive in the east. Briar Stewart has been on the ground covering the war for us. She has this report.
Air raid sirens sounded in parts of eastern and central Ukraine today as Russia steps up its offensive in the Donbas area. You have the police and different aid groups trying to evacuate civilians from communities that are now under heavy shelling. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky gave an interview that was broadcast today, and in it he talked about how he thought the war would only end through negotiations. He also gave additional details about the operation at the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol. He said that many Ukrainian pilots were killed trying to fly in things like food and medication to the plant, which had been besieged by Russian forces for weeks. And he said that those pilots were also trying to evacuate wounded fighters. Now, Russia says it has more than 2,000 Ukrainian fighters that surrendered from that plant now in Russian-controlled territory. And there's uncertainty about what will happen next. Zelensky says that the fighters' safety has been guaranteed by Russia, the UN, and the Red Cross. But it's not clear just when there will be a prisoner exchange or whether or not Russia will try to prosecute any of these fighters in the court of law. Now, where I am in Dnipro, there's the front line to the south and also to the east. And this has become a major hub for people fleeing other parts of Ukraine and also a key supply route. In fact, the military has essentially commandeered all of the diesel in this area because it's needed for vehicles on the front line. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Dnipro, Ukraine.
Sophia is back now to talk more about this weather. I know there's still stormy action happening and a lot of people still without power.
Yeah, it's a really fluid and ever-changing situation. At last check, over 340 40,000 without power, hundreds of downed trees. In fact, Uxbridge coming out declaring a state of emergency because of all the damage. Live wires, you want to stay away from them. We're looking at the damage summary, of course, of this deadly storm. At least 2 deaths attributed to this powerful and devastating squall line that came through around the lunch hour, really all across southern Ontario, with low-end hurricane force wind gusts of over 131 kilometers an hour. In some places, of course, the damage cleanup will take days. I want to show you archived radar of what this storm looked like as it was passing the Ottawa area, really bowing out that signature of those really significant and destructive straight line winds. It then merged with some of the popcorn scattered storms that we were seeing in parts of southern Quebec, some of those that were rotating as well. At one point there was a tornado warning in parts of southern Quebec. Now it's not over and done with yet. That instability is still ripe in some areas of the atmosphere that didn't have storms come through, like for those of you kind of St. Catharines, Hamilton, all the way into Niagara on the shores of Lake Erie. There is a second leg of storms that is coming in right now as we speak. Could see some severe storms, kind of like what we saw earlier. This is archived radar, a 3D look of some of the storms that came through cottage country, over 10 kilometers in height, a ton of Toonie-size hail, and hundreds of lightning strikes every hour. Sunday, much fresher air, though, in the atmosphere. In behind this, with a northerly flow, you will still have some morning showers as things are clearing, but sunny skies return for the afternoon and for Monday with brisk and below seasonal conditions, as many, of course, will be cleaning up. Shannon, what a storm.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing it all to us. I know it's been super busy for you today.
You're welcome. Stay safe, everyone.
That is our show, but before we go, we want to tell you about a program designed to encourage people to get moving. It's back. It's called Active TO, and it's meant to provide more space for walking and cycling. Sections of Lakeshore West Boulevard West, Bayview Avenue, and the Meadowway will be closed this long weekend to make space for those traveling by foot or by bike. The city says this will help thousands of people get active. The program was launched in 2020 and continued last year. Thank you so much for watching. You can stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. We'll see you again soon.